So I recently just passed the 1 year mark since getting my kidney transplant. My second chance at life, something I'm so grateful for. I wanted to share a few updates here, some challenges that I've had over this last year, how things have been going, and a few things that I've kind of learned or surprised me, I guess, along the way here. Hoping this video can help someone else out that is thinking about potentially getting a transplant or is just a few steps behind me. Day one right now. It's been a couple hours since the surgery. I'm pretty much off all pain meds other than a Tylenol every 4 hours. So I'm on day 2 right now, just the morning of here. I'm working on getting approved for solid foods. Things have been going pretty good. I feel pretty good, actually, to be honest with you. I'm a little sore.
Was it as scary as you were expecting it to be?
No, it was kind of, I just got knocked out really quick and it felt like I was out for 2 seconds, woke back up. Way less pain than my PD surgery. I feel like I'm recovering a lot faster from this and everything. So I guess more of my fear at this point right now is how am I going to get along with the medications and what limitations am I going to have in life because of some of that stuff. So they typically say your very first 3 months is your hardest ever getting a transplant. Then your first year, and things just kind of get easier as time's gone on. I've definitely had my fair share of challenges this last year. I've had a little bit of kidney rejection. I had to go in and get 2 different biopsies, and I had a lot of struggles with trying to get my medications dialed in. So the biggest challenges I've had really have come around my medications, and not what you typically think of with having side effects. Although I have been on a lot of transplant medications, pretty much most of them out there. I've been on mycophenolate, tacrolimus, cyclosporin, everolimus, prednisone, and a couple others. And I've been very fortunate in that department where I haven't had a lot of side effects. The only one that I have personally noticed that seemed to affect me was the tacrolimus. The tacrolimus, the very first week or 2 going onto that medication, I was having some headaches, some migraines, and then my body seemed to adjust and I had no issues. Several months went by, no problems. Later they had to change some medication, swap that medication out for something else, and I noticed I was getting those headaches and migraines for a week or 2 afterwards. So I don't know if that happened to be coincidence or if it was just like my body kind of getting used to that medication being in my system and coming out. Most of the issues that I've personally had have been more around the medications working a little too good. My immune system getting knocked down too much. The fine balancing act, they want you to have a little bit of immune system, but not so much that you're going to go into rejections. First 3-4 months, my numbers were just where they wanted them. Things were going really smooth. And then I started having a slow, steady decline in my white blood count and my absolute neutrophils. The transplant team started reducing my medication just ever so slowly. Wasn't seeing a whole lot of luck. Eventually they got my levels down so far that they didn't really feel comfortable going any lower. So they decided to try me out on some other medications, see if my body would respond to that any better. In that process also I ended up having to go and get some Neupogen shots. So if you're someone that comes from a dialysis background, you're probably familiar with Epogen. Well, kind of the same thing, only instead of raising your red blood count, Neupogen raises your white blood count.
Okay, and we're giving you Neupogen, which is, or Zarzio, which is just like a biosimilar to that one, and that's like the short acting. So we'll do today, tomorrow, and then you'll come back on Monday.
That did help a little bit. Really wasn't very bad. It was a sub-Q shot. Half the time I didn't feel it. So one issue that arose in all this when my immune system getting knocked down is I had BK virus pop up. If you're not familiar with BK virus is very much like a cold-like symptoms. A lot of people get in their youth, young as a kid. Pretty common. However, it's not like a common cold where you just kind of get rid of it. It's a lot like the chicken pox where it kind of stays in your system, doesn't ever really go away. Your immune system just learns how to deal with it. Well, of course, with my immune system kind of being non-existent, they had an opportunity to wake up and start multiplying pretty quickly. One of the many downsides with BK virus is it can actually start attacking your transplanted kidney. It can get in there, start causing scarring, and if it's not dealt with quickly, it can actually damage or wreck that kidney. I mean, how do I get rid of this BK? Because I feel like this is the biggest thing that's holding me up from becoming active on the list.
There isn't really like a direct, easy treatment for it. We can use Cidofovir, but the Cidofovir, this is an antiviral. If we use quite a bit of it, it can damage the kidney, so it's kind of counterintuitive. Have we tried IVIG at all for you? Or so if we give you IVIG, it may help, it may not help. Nothing is guaranteed. So the fact that your IgG is high and you're still not getting rid of the BK, it tells me that it may not really work. And the other hurdle will be insurance companies would not want to pay for it.
Really the main way of battling with that is reducing your immune suppression medications. It's really a fine line, bringing those down enough to let your immune system wake up just a little bit to start fighting that BK virus, but not so much that it will start attacking the transplanted kidney. A lot of those kind of minor little med changes over this last year, and at one point my meds got bumped down just a little too much, and I went into a little bit of a minor 1A rejection. So basically everything was reversible after making some quick action changes. But with BK virus, I just haven't been able to kick it. My numbers multiplied relatively quickly, really early on, and then after some med changes, got things to drop back down, but they've just been hovering there. So one of the things I've had a discussion with my doctor about was like, why? Why am I having so much problem with this? And he said, well, you're not the exception, but you're definitely not the norm of what most people go through. And one of the things that I personally have in the mix here is I'm a diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic, have been most of my life. It's what has gotten me here. And you said there's a lot of kind of variables with that. If I get a pancreas transplant, the consistencies of this will more than likely kind of steady out and I won't have as many issues. But for me, I've always been told most of my life, if you're diabetic, you're slower at healing, you're higher risk of getting sick. And for me personally, I haven't really noticed that at all. So one of the discussions I had with my doctor was talking about what else can I do to help fight this?
So do you do any exercises? Do you cut out of your time 30 minutes to get on a bike or to get on a treadmill? So remember when we were talking how the immune system learns about virus and how to put up a good fight. So exercise is one of the things that you can do to help reverse some of the diabetes effect on your immune system in a way. But everything in moderation, right? I don't want you to be like to train for a marathon. Just kind of pick up light exercise, build it up slowly. That will enhance your immune system in a kind way, not in a way to reject or anything like that. It will keep good balance because we're going up on immune suppression to help the rejection, but you want kind of good immunity to help keep the BK at bay.
After not being so active over the last couple of years here, just because I was so exhausted because of the kidney failure, implement a little bit of cardiovascular here into my daily routine has had really a great impact. I've been feeling better because of it, and my labs have actually been headed in the right direction as well. Something that I hope to share with you guys here in a future video. I wanted to show you what my scar looks like here. You can kind of see it tucked right along here. And then you see where my PD port was. It kind of goes down a little ways. So it's definitely a lot less noticeable than before. It's faded out a lot. It's not sore at all. The only time it ever got sore was right after I started going to a little bit of rejection. It's kind of a common symptom. And then there's just a little bit of numbness around here, but not too bad. So for dietary restrictions, I don't really have any. I still watch my salt intake. I try to be very cautious on making sure I don't get too much sodium. But other than that, I don't really have a lot. Other than kind of the typical things, making sure you avoid grapefruit, raw foods, like sushi, things like that. I struggled a lot with potassium issues. If you're not familiar with potassium, it plays a big impact on your heart rhythms and stuff. It gets too out of whack, you start having abnormal heart rhythms, heart attacks. Very, very dangerous. And I struggle with those a lot. After this transplant, it was one of my worries. I'm like, am I going to be able to eat some potassium? The other night, I was sitting there eating a meal that had a ton of phosphorus, a ton of potassium, and didn't even have to give it a second thought. It's so nice. And when I go and get my labs done, my numbers are right where I want them to be. So I had to stop halfway through that meal and just reflect on that and how grateful I am at this opportunity and what my donor has given me the opportunity to enjoy again in my life. So they say the average person puts on 20 pounds within the first year after getting a kidney transplant. Some of that's for, you're just feeling a lot better, you want to eat more, your dietary restrictions loosen up, and sometimes you're on medications that can play a factor in, like prednisone. For me, I fall pretty close to that statistic. I was about 155 pounds on dialysis. I'm currently right now 170 pounds, so I put on roughly 15 pounds. I feel like I've needed that. I've definitely put a little bit in my gut area, but my face is filled out. I feel like I look a lot more healthy. On top of looking healthier, I think my skin looks a whole lot better as well. Granted, you're looking at me right now, 6-8 months into winter here in Minnesota. Haven't seen a whole lot of sun in a long time, so I'm going to look a little pale right now, but I have a lot more natural color, not so gray like I was looking before. So with all the challenges that I've had over this last year, I've actually felt relatively decent through this. When I did go into a little bit of rejection, I was definitely not feeling the top of my game. I think that was the worst I'd ever felt. But I will tell you this, my worst day this last year is way better than my best days when I was struggling with trying to keep my kidneys going and when I was on dialysis. It's been a game changer. If you're someone that is thinking about or wanting and waiting for an opportunity to get a transplant, it's way worth it. It's unbelievable how much better I feel. So I am forever in debt to my donor. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So I will say this. I feel very fortunate that I've had that check mark checked on my driver's license since I started driving. I think I'd feel really guilty being where I am right now if that wasn't the case. If you haven't ever considered being an organ donor, I would definitely really consider it. You don't even have to consider being a living donor. Just checking that check mark on your driver's license can really make a huge difference. Really impacted a lot of lives. It's not just my life, it's my family's life, it's my friends' lives. And there's tons of other people out there just like me that are still waiting for an opportunity to get a transplant. There's a lot of people that die waiting. I just feel very fortunate that I had someone that was willing to do that for me. They were a match. That's not always the case as well for many people. Anyways, I just wanted to share a quick update. I want to give some lecture thing here at the end, but I really wanted to relay, like, this has just absolutely been amazing last year. Even with all the challenges, just having energy again and being able to spend time with friends and family, it's been such a blessing. So hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.